Hey, Dr. Joe. Happy Friday. Happy Fitness Friday, Pizza Friday. It's the beginning of the weekend and had a busy week. I'm sure you had a busy week too. And I'm sure we're looking forward to a nice pre-holiday, pre-Christmas weekend. So welcome to my channel, To Your Wellness for Life. It's going to be another episode of Fitness Friday. And I'm going to be bringing on Coach Shannon Hall, who's down in Florida. She's a former American gladiator and professional boxer and has lots of wisdom when it comes to health and nutrition and fitness and women's health. And so I'm going to bring her on and let's get started.
Hey guys, happy Fitness Friday.
Hey, Coach Shannon.
What's up, Dr. Joe?
I'm good. What's the weather like in Florida?
Let's see. It's beautiful, sunny, warm, beachy, breezy, amazing. So it's
Is it really?
what it should be today.
Good. You know, the Sunshine State.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm looking at beautiful sunshine right now. Just was for my morning run. So this is like for us the best time of year. So for
Yeah.
sure. Your face isn't melting off right now. So
You ever been to El Paso, Texas?
yes, I have.
You have.
Of course I have. It's hot down there. Yes.
Now, their motto is they have 365 days of sunshine year round.
Yeah, I think so, but it's not quite the same. It's really dry and really it's different vibe down there. There's no water. So it's really dry and hot. I have to have water with my son. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been through there. I think it was in July. The Rio Grande was dry and
Hmm.
it was hot. And we spent the night there actually, my wife and I, when we were driving from Virginia to California for me to start my residency, we took the southern route and we went through San Antonio and then drove cross to Texas. And, you know, there's I don't know, 1,000 mile stretch or so where there's like nothing.
Yeah, just some tumbling tumbleweeds, and you better have gas
Tumbleweed.
in your car crossing over because there's,
Yeah.
it's far and few between there for sure.
All right, so this is the second time we're doing this. We did it for the first time last week, last Friday. We're gonna try to come on around 1 o'clock. We're doing a little bit later today because I had some things to do in the operating room.
Mhm.
So, but we're gonna try to be consistent on Fridays at 1. For those who don't know you, why don't you just give a brief kind of 30-second blurb on who you are?
Okay, my name is Shannon Dallas Hall, and I guess my claim to fame was Dallas on the American Gladiator show. So I basically beat people up for a living for about 20 years in sport, and I'm also a martial arts champion, women's heavyweight boxing champion, former Miss Fitness California, and I've also been a certified personal trainer now for over 30 years. So, through my jaunt of all that, I was a certified trainer and was training people the whole time. And just recently got my specialist in sports nutrition certification, which is amazing because the nutrition world is always changing. And I kind of just, when I was competing, mostly I just burn everything off or whatever. But now that I'm 50 years old, menopausal, your body kind of gives out, and nutrition takes a little bit more of the forefront, to stay fit and to be healthier. So, yeah, I've just trained people for over 30 years, teenagers, women of all ages, men, professional athletes, professional women and men, mixed martial artists. So, I am a weight cut specialist, which means that I am very good at pulling weight off of fighters when they need to get into a fight. I think I pulled 20 pounds off of a guy in 1 week and went and he won a heavyweight title in mixed martial arts. And there's a safe way to do things. A lot of it's water. But I've never had a fighter not be able to get on the scale at what they needed when they hired me to do so in a healthy way. I'm a natural athlete, no drugs, no nothing like that. Everything I do is holistic and natural and healthy. The first and foremost thing, you as a doctor is the health and wellness of your patients, and me the same. It's the health and wellness of my clients that's the most important. So, and your platform, To Your Wellness for Life, I am, for the longevity of stuff. No quick fixes. I believe, you got to do what you can do naturally, or else don't do it, or wait till it takes longer till you can get it done right. So, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All righty. So today I came up with a topic called Functional Training, Fad or Here to Stay.
Yeah.
And I pulled some stats on CrossFit. I think CrossFit kind of put the whole functional training thing on the map. And let me just tell you a couple of things. The company was conceived in 1996 as CrossFit. Greg Glassman and Lauren Genet incorporated it in 2000. The first one was in Santa Cruz, California, and the first affiliated gym was CrossFit North in Seattle, Washington. By 2005, there were 13, and by 2016, there were 13,000. I think some of the numbers have declined. So therein lies the question, is the functional training in CrossFit a fad, or is it here to stay? We can kind of talk about that, but I think, it opens up the door for a lot of an interesting discussion because, I was a cross-country runner growing up, played a lot of soccer, but I also lifted weights. So yeah, it's kind of a trendy thing to say now, functional training, but I think people are doing functional training way back when. And you think about, the what do you call it? The farmer's carry,
Yeah.
Farmers do a lot of functional training, and they're some of the strongest people on the planet. I would never mess with a farmer, man. They clean your clock.
I'm a farm girl. See, that's exactly.
See? There you go.
There you go.
See? All righty. So, question: what's your definition of functional training?
My definition and my experience with functional training, it's more for just day-to-day movement, and a lot of the times it's injury rehabilitation type of training. Functional means just basic human body movement function, the extending of the arms forward, lateral movements, standing and squatting, basic day-to-day movements. And I think we've all had an injury of some sort, and then we go to physical therapy and just figure out how to lift the arm again. If you've had some type of shoulder, it's just simple foundational movement workouts. So you mentioned CrossFit, and we were talking about this earlier. Functional training for me, it needs to be done in an environment that's either with a one-on-one coach or just you at home. You have to really listen to your body, what you're trying to correct. Whether it's posture, sitting, standing, walking upstairs, simple movements like that you might be having trouble with because of an injury or something that's posture related. Functional training needs to be where you correct those, and it's minor muscular movements, minor changes that need several repetitions to correct a movement. It's not heavy powerlifting, competitive training of any kind. In CrossFit, the movements of CrossFit are good, but when you go to a CrossFit gym, the energy there is hardcore, it's loud, and people are running. The energy is like crazy. So therefore it is immediately into a competitive type environment, which is great for that aspect. But for functional training, if you're just trying to do simple movements, that's not the way that you want to train. It needs to be done very slowly, very regulated, and you need to really focus on the part that you are trying to correct. And I don't want to say it's injury preventative, but it is. It is for injury preventative, maybe not always, physical therapy related, but it's injury preventative movements, just to help you with your day-to-day life. So not for competitive, not for bodybuilding type thing, but day-to-day functional movements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's obviously not a fad. It's, it's been around for a while. It's going to stay.
I think the name is a fad. Maybe the name that they gave it, now they give it functional training. They had to label it as something, I think it's very therapeutic. So maybe the name, but just the movement in and of itself, it's foundation for all other movements and training. So I think it's basically the foundation. So it's here to stay, because if you bypass that, you are going to get injured, or you're not going to hear what your body's trying to tell you. So I think it's absolutely necessary.
So for someone, and I'm actually going to open up the chat box here, and so if someone wants to post a question, then we can kind of discuss that or answer it. But got a couple of thoughts just listening to you. So if you had someone who is purely cardio, and they say, I don't need to do any functional training, and the reverse too, you got someone who, just lifts weights and does all functional stuff and says, I don't need to do any cardio. Do you think for both of them, there's a role for doing the other thing and blending it together?
Well, I mean, for the best results, you do need to do both things together. It depends on the age of the client. It depends on their lifestyle. It depends on what they're doing this for. But for overall wellness, you do need the strength training, especially as adults. You got to put that strength training in there to keep your muscle tissue, because keeping the muscle on keeps your metabolism high and it keeps you burning the fat efficiently. And if you're just doing cardio, you're missing out on the benefit of having a little bit more muscle tissue. You've got to do those heavy movements to create the muscle to give you the fat burning thing that you need. And for someone that just lifts weights, you need the cardio just for your cardiovascular health, for blood pressure reasons. You're going to do things that like startle you. And if your heart rate goes, up and down and it's not used to doing that, it can cause problems later. So it is a balance. And of course, I think you do need to do both of them together. But if you just want to start with one just to get started, that's okay too. If a lady wants to get in there and she's reluctant about training with weights and she wants to just get in there and get on that treadmill, that's going to build into other things. So if you just start doing cardio and get in there and get on the treadmill, get used to being in the gym with people looking at you, and you'll see a lady picking up some weights. So one day you'll do 15 minutes on the treadmill and you'll accidentally slip and fall over onto a dumbbell. And then look, there you're lifting some dumbbells, and then you're doing both. So, and if vice versa, if you don't feel like that you're in great shape but you're a little bit stronger and you want to go in there and just pick up a few dumbbells, you don't have to jump right on the cardio, but you build up to that. So one feeds the other. So for overall wellness, absolutely think for both. But get in there and just one is better than none. So start with one and eventually enter into doing both, just for balance.
Yeah. Being a women's health specialist, I want to make sure that my female patients don't get osteoporosis. I want them to do weight-bearing kind of exercises at least, 3 to 5 times a week.
Yeah.
And in the cardio world, there are some that's weight-bearing and there's some that's not. So for example, getting on a treadmill, that's weight-bearing. You're rowing, that may be cardio, but it's not exactly weight-bearing. So, I'm all for blending it all. And I guess it kind of also comes down to doing what you like.
Yeah. What makes you feel good, of course. I don't,
Yeah.
I like doing weights. Weights make me feel better. And doing the cardio, I'm just like, I got to sit here for 30 minutes and do the cardio. So, you do both because it's better for you, and it has to do with the fast twitch and slow twitch fibers, the fast twitch muscle fibers. Usually you're one type of person or the other. Lifting heavy weights and, strong things, those are the fast twitch and, burns you out quicker. And, the slow twitch is more of the cardio and the treadmill, but you're still working the body. So whether you're this type of person or that type of person, it's just better to try both. But, like I said, you can do just one, but I encourage everyone just to try for both. And you do need that muscle tissue. And as you get older, you do have to do more strength training to keep the muscle tissue there, because it does kind of go away. And I struggle with that. I've been really strong and bodybuilder forever. And I hit those weights hard and I cannot keep the muscle on. I mean, like I said, I'm a natural athlete and I lift heavy and hard for me. And, I don't blow up. So, once again, there's the thing that you don't have to worry about getting too muscular as a woman, weight training naturally. It just doesn't happen that way. I've seen some freak of nature girls that are very muscular and they just do cardio and they still, bulk up a little bit. So you kind of have to follow your own thing. I have to struggle to keep it on. So whatever type you are, just balance it. Just balance out to what makes you feel the best, whatever that might be.
Yeah. Someone like you would be extremely low risk for getting osteoporosis. For one thing, you're stimulating your bone. Bone is living tissue, and it's actually a balance between two types of cells, the osteoblast and the osteoclast. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is that the density of your bone that you develop by age like 20 is the #1 predictor of whether you're going to fracture a bone later on in your menopausal years or even an older man.
Oh, wow.
So you really want to get really good, dense, strong bones by age 20. By age 30, definitely at the very latest, because it's going to be your risk factor whether you're going to have a fracture later on. And then finally, is if you do develop some osteoporosis, you want really strong muscles to protect your bony frame. Mm-hmm. So
it all goes together. So
you got to do things.
Yes,
Yeah.
it goes together. And nutrition is one part, and taking in enough calcium. Well, I've had, some like, well, I take a lot of calcium. I really don't have to work out that hard. I'm like, what does that mean? You take a lot? No, you still, just like you said, the stimulation is what gives you that strength. It's not just taking the supplements, but you have to, trigger the response for it to build and get stronger. So yeah, I mean, and that's good. Like I said, picking up heavy things and putting them down is good for you if you do it right. And talk about functional training. Functional training gives the basis to lift correctly. So that's something else with that too. It gives you the basis for the right movement to do your lifts correctly. So see, once again, it's foundational for anything else that you do. So it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having, watching some of these CrossFitters, do you think that some of the things that they do that can be really heavy stuff, that is it a good idea to do that? Or do you think, we don't know everything yet, and they may kind of like, Life magazine about 10 years ago had an interesting article about head injuries, you know. So contact sports, and boxing certainly was in it, but mostly they were talking about football players trying to make the helmet technology better. I grew up, in Germany playing soccer, so I've headed the ball a lot. So I probably have had several micro concussions that just went unnoticed, just keep playing. Then boxers. And the article was about how many micro concussions a boxer might have or a football player that then may later on, increase their risk for dementia and even Alzheimer's disease. I'm wondering if some of the same thing we're going to be talking about with some of the CrossFit stuff. Yeah, they have the right technique, but I still wonder, are they doing some things that are really not meant to be done, and they're going to be paying the price later on in life?
You nailed it. That's exactly right. CrossFit is intense, and I think that it would be good, in my opinion, just as a human being and the way that the body, regenerates itself and all the injury things considered. I think it's really good to cross train some CrossFit for a while. It's really hard on the joints and the slinging, and a lot of people jump into it without the functional training needed to do those exercises correctly, and you're not really told to do that or to not to do that. Yeah, come on in, let's do this. Sling this up there, it's pretty intense. So I think it's more of an advanced type of exercise for your body. Your body needs to be ready to do those movements over and over if you're going to do it for a long time. And that's hard to know if your body's ready for that. The people that I know that are in a CrossFit, very strong, fit people, but there's a lot of injuries there. There's a lot of injuries associated with that, and there's time off. And so, from, I guess, past 10 years, the friends that I've had that have done it, it's something that you should do and try and incorporate into your workout. But for long-term longevity, those movements are hardcore, and very few can keep up with the rate and the pace and the wear and tear on the joints that CrossFit does on long term. But I think it's a beautiful thing. It's great to do for, a lot of people that are doing I took one of my, okay, here's a perfect example. I have one of my clients, she was getting ready for Super Ninja Warrior type competition in Los Angeles. And so because of that, she was a bodybuilder. So because of that, we went and did CrossFit for a month just to get those type of movements, the rope climbing, the balance thing, the slinging things, just to make sure she would not injure herself during the competition. And man, I mean, it's the wear and tear. And, she got a little injuries here and there after she competed, but, so in that regard, it prepared her for something else. But to do that over and over and over, you would have to be a specialized body type of person. Very light, very small, I think would be the best person to do this. The girls, the CrossFit champions, they're just beasts. I mean, they're just shredded, ripped, and probably a little bit of steroids here and there to keep up with that pace. But long-term wise, it doesn't really last that long when you're at that level of intensity. But lower level wise, go and do these movements. Okay, once again, you can use those movements as functional training. If you're using them with light weights, with a foundational exercise program that gets you ready for that. So there's a way to do it correctly, for a little while and with lighter weights. But man, it wears and tears on you hard. You can't get in there without wanting to do more. The environment of a CrossFit gym is like, rah, 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 more fast. So in that environment, it pushes you really, really, really hard. So that would make it hard for you to keep, pull back and to stay healthy. I mean, it's possible, but, they're going to say, oh, CrossFit's the best. Well, of course, I mean, if you love it, do it. But we're talking long-term. We're talking injury. We're talking, functional training, going into that. You got to really be careful with CrossFit. I'll put it to you that way. You got to know what you're doing and be careful. Make sure your body's ready for those kind of, that just hurts me to think about it over and over. So, yeah.
So when you get a new client, let's say you get someone who's really been a couch potato, they're not an athlete.
Right.
And, they kind of get it now. They say, I heard that getting my weight down and exercising really is going to be good for my immune system. Everyone's kind of, the pandemic is on the radar. Everyone's heard about COVID-19 now. And a lot of people are kind of waking up to the fact that, maybe they need to get this weight down and get their body moving. Obviously, what are the top 2-3 things that you tell a new client like that needs to lose about 20 pounds, been a couch potato, not eating very well, kind of, where do you start with that person?
Well, I first have to assess them and see, if they have any type of athletic background. I mean, if they're a couch potato now, I mean, did you play sports in high school? Were you an athlete before, or have you always been a couch potato? Now, if you've always been a couch potato and you're just getting off the couch, here's where functional training comes in. So first of all, I would revamp their nutrition immediately, see what they're eating, give them the right kind of foods. If they're obese, I would immediately go to some intermittent fasting with their doctor's approval, first and foremost, if they're in an unhealthy range like that. But if they're just 20 pounds overweight, that's not really unusual, which is sad. That's very common, actually. We would do, like I said, first of all, I always make sure that they have a physical first. Just go to your doctor, tell them you're going to work out. Let me know what they say, what restrictions that. So I always have them do a physical first. You can go to it's $35 if you don't have insurance or whatever. It's worth it. So after that point and everything's clear, I put them on an intermittent fast, a light one, once or twice a week, just to empty the gut out. We talk about gut health. Gut health is a whole other thing. So we do that, and they're like, oh, go all day without eating. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of good for you. Yeah, just drink some water, stay super hydrated. We watch out for dizzy spells. Of course, if it's a pregnant lady, something of that nature, that's, of course, that's not good without a doctor's approval. But I'm just saying this is typical for me. And I've had amazing results with that. So functional training would be where I would start with a couch potato. So say, okay, so you're going to hire me for a month to train you. We're going to start with functional training movements. Let's see if you can do a full squat. Now, I'm not saying squat with movement. Let's see if you can do a full squat movement. I'm going to teach you the right way to do it. I'm going to teach you how to do some lunges. I'm going to teach you how to actually lift weights correctly, how to do your breathing, just this movement. Can you move your arm up and down? Does that hurt? Do you have any pain? Yes, I do. Okay, well, we got to loosen up your shoulder joint. Functional movement. We're going to get a dumbbell and do this, and this is where the functional movement comes in. So with that person, that's how we would start. Fasting a couple of days just to let your body empty out. Let your belly flatten out a little bit. A lot of times it's just because there's gluten intolerant things in there. You may be lactose intolerant. You've got some gas in there. Well, first, let's get the food out of there, and let's see what's actually fat and what's actually just bloating. So bloating is huge. And so sometimes when you don't eat for a day, they're like, I feel so great. I'm not having any pains in my chest, acid reflux. I'm not having any pains in my stomach, IBS or lactose intolerance. Like, oh my gosh, there's no food in me and I feel great. Well, guess what? That's where we start. We're going to take your lactose out. We're going to take the gluten out. We're going to take your acidic foods. We're going to change that all over. Just that in and of itself, Dr. Pohl, that changes somebody's whole world. Just those 3 things, taking those out. And then when they see that and feel, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to put those things back in there that are hurting me, making me fat, bothering me, and bloating me. So we start with that and the functional movement. And my average with someone is 20 pounds a month. That's my average with a man that's, 50 pounds overweight. With a woman that's 20 pounds, I pull 20 pounds off like that. And that's just from changing the food. Yeah. Just from changing the food and getting out and moving around. And we also have to figure out something else I do. I really go on where is your energy level best during the day? They say, well, is it better to work out in the morning? Is it better to work out at night? When is the best time to train? And I say, when do you feel the best? When is your energy up? Well, if my energy's up in the morning, but I work in the morning, okay, well, we got to work around that then. Okay. But first of all, I want to do it when they feel well. So I think what's best for you is what's best for your natural body rhythm. And if there's things that counter that, we kind of work around that too. So those are things that we take in consideration at first. But if you're a couch potato and you're sitting on the couch, any time of day is good for you to get up and be moving. So we work around the schedule, that person's work schedule.
I saw a patient a couple of days ago who was just in for a routine annual exam and wasn't feeling well, and saw her primary care doctor, and they did some lab work, and her liver functions were a little bit elevated. And they were just, asking her the typical things, how much alcohol do you drink, and do you take a lot of Tylenol, kind of the obvious things that would maybe cause a little bit of liver dysfunction. And she said, no, I don't do any of those things. They just kind of threw up their hands and said, I don't know what the problem is. And, then she and we had a nice, interesting discussion about that, because that already tells me that she probably has some kind of fatty liver problem. Liver enzymes that are slightly elevated in someone who's not an alcoholic, who's not abusing Tylenol, who didn't have hepatitis. What's going on? And I think that, she needs to look at her nutrition. And unfortunately, we live in a world where there's lots of bad stuff. They spray a lot of crap on our produce, pesticides, herbicides. They feed animals some antibiotics and steroids to kind of fatten them up before slaughter. And they also feed them, cows corn, which is basically just sugar. Again, the main reason is to fatten them up so the farmer gets more money.
Yeah.
And then they put emulsifiers in food to make them kind of creamy and give them shelf lives. Those are the three biggest reasons why people have leaky gut. These called gut disruptors. Very interesting book written by a doctor in Britain, the MD PhD, Dr. Keith Scott Mumby, wrote a book called Diet Wise. And in there, he addresses exactly the two things you just talked about: gluten, grain, and dairy. He says people that walk in the office and say, I don't feel well, my energy is bad, I don't have any strength, I'm not sleeping well, I just, I saw my doctor and they did all this lab work, all lab work's normal, no one's got any answers for me. According to Dr. Keith Scott Mumby, he says you need to look at your nutrition. You probably need to do an elimination diet, get rid of the gluten, get rid of the grain, get rid of the dairy, then see how you feel, and then maybe consider bringing some things back.
Yes, absolutely.
Seems
like for everyone, that's a great place to start. If you just don't feel good in there, just trial and error, cut out dairy and grain. Now that I didn't know about that, but that's amazing. Cut out the grain, cut out the dairy, cut out the gluten. Just for a few days, I'm telling you, just one day without that stuff, when nothing's in you, a lot of problems disappear, and that is life-changing. So that's a simple, we talk about taking action. That's one thing. We take action after each one of our lives. That's one thing for everyone. They should try it. Everybody should try that. And you're not going to have any adverse effects from taking those things away, and just make sure that, I always say, I'll go by, are you lightheaded? Are you dizzy? Now, if that's the case, I always have them eat a piece of fruit. Usually that's a sugar thing. So just be safe in that regard.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going on almost 30 minutes. So I appreciate your time, Shannon. We talked about functional training. It's obviously not just a fad, it's here to stay. And people have been doing it for a long time. And especially if you're a farmer, you've probably been doing lots of functional training, doing farmer carries,
That's right.
So how can they reach you, Shannon?
You can reach me. I do have a Facebook page, and it's Dallas Shannon Hall is my Facebook name. I also have an Instagram. It's at knockout_1000. And they can also email me at shannonh@forgerx@gmail.com. Yep, there. Hey, yes.
There you go. Wear my ForgeRx shirt.
There you go. See, you're the perfect little cheerleader support guy. Yes.
All righty. So anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
Well, thank you for having me on here. And I just think that, and I don't know if it's because we're older or whatever, but I just think that, wellness goes beyond, taking all the proteins and the steroids and how you look. And you and I are doing this wellness from the inside out. It's what you put in here naturally that exudes what you're going to look like and feel like on the outside. So it's not just for cosmetic reasons. It's for your health and for the rest of your life, for your children, for your grandchildren. And we're in here for the long haul. Long-term and long-haul health is very attractive.
Exactly.
Yep.
For your health, wellness, longevity, and quality of life. So very
Yes.
important. Don't wait for that wake-up call.
That's it.
Grab this, fix this before.
Yes, sir.
Oh, something happened. I don't know what. Boom, boom. All of a sudden, I saw a bunch of flashing. All righty. So I wish you a wonderful week, and hopefully we can regroup next Friday.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend.
Thank
Be
you,
safe.
Shannon. Have a good one. Bye.